If you're like me, you may have noticed, after watching 100 movies, that in the logo for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the Y in Goldwyn and the Y in Mayer don't quite look alike. Well, this could be a very subtle way of distinguishing the two names, which may lead you to ask, why is it called Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer? Are there three divisions, like in a car company? Is it a merger? What happened? Well, in this short video, I'm going to try to explain what did happen. And you may want to increase the size of the screen because it's going to get a little detailed, but I'll make it as simple as I can. We're going to go over 17 years of history, starting in the year 1912. In this year, the cast of characters includes Marcus Lowe, an owner of movie theaters and movie theater chains; Carl Laemmle, a man who made movies; W. W. Hodgkinson, a man who distributed movies; and Adolf Zukor, Jesse Lasky, and Samuel Goldfish, also movie makers. In 1912, Carl Laemmle founded a studio which he called Universal, the very same Universal that exists today, with the Earth logo and the theme, bam bam bam, bam bam bam, dum dum. Of course, in movies from 1912, it sounded like this. Also in 1912, Adolf Zukor founded Famous Players Studios. Famous players in famous plays. Photo plays, of course. In 1913, Jesse Lasky teamed up with Samuel Goldfish and a couple of other people to form the Jesse Lasky Feature Play Company. In 1914, W. W. Hodgkinson had merged a bunch of smaller companies to form the first coast-to-coast movie distributing company. So, if you wanted to get your movies shown almost anywhere in the country, that is, if your company didn't have a bunch of movie theaters ready already, you could go through Hodgkinson's company instead of going through the local ones or the regional ones. Hodgkinson was from the mountain area of Utah and decided to name his new company as a reminder of his home, calling it Paramount, even designing the Paramount Mountain logo himself. In 1915, Metro Pictures was founded in Jacksonville, Florida, of all places. No offense to Jacksonville, it's just kind of unexpected. But it had connections to New York, Los Angeles, and of course, Fort Lee, New Jersey. I'll let you find out later why Fort Lee was important. In 1916, Adolf Zukor was a very busy bee. He organized a merger of Famous Players and the Jesse Lasky Feature Play Company. He also took over Paramount. Zukor eventually realized that Jesse Lasky Famous Players was not quite as snappy as the name Paramount, and his new studio eventually took on that name. Zukor knew a good thing when he saw one. Hodgkinson, well, he was kind of pushed out. And another change happened in that year. There were some heavy tensions in management, and it was decided that Samuel Goldfish would leave this new company. One of the deciding votes was cast by Jesse Lasky, who was Samuel Goldfish's brother-in-law. Well, Goldfish was undaunted by this setback. Well, maybe a little daunted. He enlisted the help of Archibald and Edgar Selwyn, and they formed a new studio. Their new studio name reflected this partnership. It would not be Goldfish Selwyn Pictures, but Goldwyn Pictures. Like Zukor, Goldfish knew a good thing when he saw it, and officially changed his own name to Samuel Goldwyn, seriously decreasing the amount of tittering that had long gone on about his name. In 1918, an executive at Metro Pictures struck out on his own, founding Louis B. Mayer Pictures. Also in that same year, Carl Laemmle hired a young secretary named Irving Thalberg. Irving Thalberg did his job very well, and 2 years after Thalberg was hired, Laemmle asked Thalberg's advice on how to improve things at the studio. Thalberg said, "You probably need someone with a title of manager of the studio or studio manager, something like that." Laemmle said, "Fine, you're it." Irving Thalberg, though only 20 years old, proved amazing at his job. It seemed that Thalberg could make any movie at Universal better. His suggestions to writers, directors, and producers almost always made for a higher quality film. Not only that, but he had very little ego, and he would give incredible advice without seeking on-screen credit. And of course, because of his advice, Universal raked in a ton of money, which didn't go unnoticed by other people in Hollywood. In 1922, there was a shake-up at Goldwyn Pictures. Apparently Goldwyn was driving the people at Goldwyn crazy, and they forced him out of his own company. Jesse Lasky's not looking too bad now, is he? Goldwyn decided he would be independent for the rest of his life, raise money for each individual movie he made, rent space at different studios, and find distributors. He was pretty successful, too. In 1923, Irving Thalberg decided he had done enough at Universal and wanted to try something new. He hooked up with Louis B. Mayer and his relatively small studio for a change of pace. Well, this takes us to 1924. Marcus Lowe. Remember him? Well, Marcus Lowe had a bunch of theaters and needed movies to show. He had already bought Metro, and he was looking to consolidate more companies to give him more movies. He bought Goldwyn Pictures, minus Samuel Goldwyn, and he wanted Louis B. Mayer Pictures. Not necessarily for Louis B. Mayer Pictures itself, but because he would get Irving Thalberg in the deal. And it turned out that getting Louis B. Mayer was not at all bad either. So in 1924, Marcus Lowe organized the merger of these three companies into Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, or MGM, with Louis B. Mayer controlling the studio and his right-hand man Irving Thalberg making everything beautiful and profitable. Mayer held the post from 1924 until 1951. Thalberg, who had been sickly all of his life, died in 1937. But in 1924, Lowe was happy. He had a new super studio to supply him with a constant stream of movies. But he was only happy for 3 years. In 1927, Marcus Lowe died. And a takeover was attempted by William Fox of Fox Studios. It wasn't a hostile takeover. The new head of Lowe's was okay with it. And the takeover almost went through. But Thalberg and Mayer fought their bosses in New York and used their contacts in Washington to hold the deal up. By 1929, the deal had long been in limbo, the Great Depression had started, and William Fox had been in a bad accident, incapacitating him for some time. The takeover never happened. And so, as of 1924, moviegoers could see movies produced by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and always in small letters, produced by Lowe's Incorporated, which controlled MGM until 1959, when Lowe's and MGM went their separate ways as a result of the lawsuit United States of America versus Paramount Pictures in 1948, which sought to break up monopolies in the industry, and which is too complicated to deal with here. Oh, and that logo? Well, this story might help clear up the why mystery. Take a look at one of the earlier versions, and you'll see Metro, Goldwyn, and Mayer are in 3 different typefaces. And the lion? Well, it turns out that Marcus Lowe's name, Lowe, is from German Löwe, which means lion. So the MGM logo has the imprint of Marcus Lowe on it, right? Well, no. Actually, this is a holdover from Goldwyn Pictures. Goldwyn had come up with a really nice logo. Marcus Lowe, like others, knew a good thing when he saw it.